hanging long enough. What's it about? I don't know. Um, it's really about ambition and greed. Like people have to have that carrot dangled in front of them, and some people just strive all their lives to sort of to get somewhere, and it's really just about that greed and ambition. Just tell me what you want, I'll find the key. Just reach out and touch. It's all yours. It's just the way it is. Is The lyrics to this one came pretty much at the same time as the music. That's to say, it was improvised, and sort of I kept most of the words that I sang. It's about Northern Ireland specifically. Um, there are the fact that people are growing up over there. The kids are growing up, and you see newsreels of them throwing petrol bombs and stuff, and they don't really know why they're doing it. They're just doing it because their brothers did it, and their fathers did it, and their grandfathers did it, but they're not quite sure why they're doing it. And they're fighting people they don't even know what for. A lot of them, and it's just all the terrorism that's about. It's just people being killed constantly. It's nothing's worth that really. So the song is suggesting that maybe we should all sit down and talk about it. And it's a simplistic way of looking at it, but then that's really the way I write the songs. Like sort of from a man on the street's point of view. I mean, you don't need to know all the details, or you need to know the facts. There are people getting killed for nothing, so let's work it out. That's kind of the idea of the song.
Do you remember?
Do You Remember is the Phil Collins love song really on the album. When you break up with someone, you tend to sort of, there's a lot of dust and fur flying, but it's not until later when things settle down that you realize that the faults, whose fault it was. I mean, one of the key verses probably in the song is there was always something better to do, always something more important to say, but I love you wasn't one of those things, and now it's too late. So that's the kind of idea of the thing. It's looking back on relationships and the blame where it lies.
Something happened?
Something Happened on the Way to Heaven is it was the last song I wrote, and originally I wrote it for the Four Tops, but then I turned out I liked it, so I didn't give it to them. No, I actually did originally write it with them in mind, but when it came to the lyrics, it was the last song to be written lyrically, and Danny DeVito wanted a song for a film of his, which is about to come out, called War of the Roses. And I read the script and I wrote the words around that, which was basically two people that were very much in love, and they fall out with each other, actually grow to hate each other, and then regret it at the very, very last minute when they're on their deathbed, as it were. I mean, it's actually a comedy, black comedy. But anyway, he didn't like the song, so I'd already written the words, so I kept the song. So that's really where that's why the lyrics are about what they are.
Colors?
Colors is another. I mean, most of the lyrics on this album, I feel that I'm treading new ground for me. I'm writing about things that I've felt for a long time but never really written about. So Colors, as That's Just the Way It Is another one of those songs. It's about South Africa. It's two songs joined together. One is really a song, almost, you can imagine the news reports at the time. I mean, I haven't done an album since Live Aid in Ethiopia and all that in 1985. I mean, like, my last solo album was that long ago. So it's the first time I've had a chance to do anything like this. And the first song is basically like a Michael Burke news report. And then the second part of the song is really all these reforms we're supposed to be hearing about that are slowly happening in South Africa. Nothing really seems to change, although everyone keeps telling us there will be changes. So the chorus of the song is, no matter what you say, things don't ever get better, and no matter what you do, we never see any change. So it's a song for Mr. Boter, really.
Wish It Would Rain?
Another barrel of laughs. Wish It Would Rain Down. Well, that was, again, the lyrics for that were kind of improvised when the music was written. And there are a lot of, I'm sure a psychologist would look at these lyrics and say there's a lot more going on than what I'm saying in terms of my own life. But on the face of it, it's a song about, it's related to maybe your first girlfriend or your first boyfriend, whatever, when you after all those years, you sort of see them on the street, and suddenly it opens all those feelings again, opens the cut, if you like. And this guy who just sort of feels that he could actually go around and see this person without realizing that it would open up all those old wounds. So there's that on that level. The lyric is works, but also I'm sure, like I say, the psychologist would look underneath that, and it would probably relate to my past relationships and things. So.
Another Day in Paradise.
Another Day in Paradise is a song about the homeless. Again, the lyrics came when I sat down at a piano and wrote the music. The lyrics came out spontaneously, and I always think those lyrics are my best lyrics. There's quite a few of those on this album because I tend to write down what I've improvised and then fill in the holes to make sense afterwards. So it is a song about the homeless. I mean, it's something that we all see every day, and sometimes we see so much of it we don't even see it. You walk past it without even thinking about it. So, and we all think of it, okay, London, New York, those places, but it's worldwide, you know, and it can relate to the Vietnamese boat people. It can relate to the East Germans leaving East Germany. It's relating to everything, and I just tried these people's awkwardness with homelessness as well. People with money have a very hard time dealing with people that are homeless, and it's people walking across the street and pretending they don't see what they see, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody else. So it's really a question of trying to draw people's attention to that, I think.
Heat on the Street.
Heat on the Street was the words, half of the words were kind of improvised, and the half that I had wasn't very easy to sort of to work with this song. The song is basically about the unrest that's sort of boiling and simmering all the time on English streets, and I dare say all over the world. In some of the major cities, it's the same. And we had the Brixton riots, the Bristol riots in England. It's that, you know, someone had better tell the people up there that the bubble's just about to burst. You know, the people are getting very tired of the of living in that sort of tense environment and the repercussions that could happen.
All of My Life.
What a depressing album. All My Life is, well, when I wrote the song, I had that line, and it was obvious. I mean, the line fitted perfectly with the music. So then I had to set about how to write it, and the lyrics vary between being about a sort of very critical look at myself about all the things that I do that I shouldn't do, and all the things I've done I shouldn't have done, said shouldn't have said. And the last verse in particular is about my dad, who I kind of, when you don't spend time with your mother and father or whoever, when, you know, then they go, you kind of feel that, you know, if only I'd done this. And with my dad, I was too preoccupied with learning to play the drums when my career, which is 1972, was just starting with Genesis. So I spent a lot of my time listening to records and playing drums upstairs when he was sitting downstairs on his own, because my mother was working all the time. So there's that kind of guilt, and I lay that out in the song, and I kind of, in a way, it's kind of exercised that guilt. Yeah.
Saturday Night, Sunday Morning.
That's a little instrumental piece. Saturday Night, Sunday Morning. I had this idea of improvising, you know, playing the drums with a little headset microphone and improvising drum-wise and singing at the same time, and then getting a horn section, my horn section, to notate everything that I'd sung. So in the end, you get this very, very tight band, which sounds like you're very good. I mean, it makes it sound like you're better than you in fact are. So what I was doing was playing, singing, and then the horn arranger took my voice, notated what I'd sung, and then charted it out. So it's really a drum horn duet. I just thought it was a nice little sort of along the lines of the jazz things that I used to do and sometimes still do, but it's more of that big band jazz sort of feel.
Father and Son.
Well, I'm a father on the phone to my son, really. I've got a 17-year-old daughter and 13-year-old son that live in Canada, and again, you know, sort of guilt-wise, I feel, you know, I haven't lived with them for since he was like 2, and I've become a father on the phone once a week, and also during the summer when they come over for 5 or 6 weeks. And as he gets older, he's finding more problems that he needs to talk to a man about, his dad about. So, and I was getting this on the phone when I was speaking to him, so I kind of thought I'd write a song that he could listen to with advice. I mean, when you're a kid and your father, you think, who's going to do the insurance on the house? What happens? How do you insure a car? What do you do? How do you buy a house? These are things you grow up with, knowing that your mum and dad do it for you. And of course, by the time you get to a certain age and they're no longer there, you've found out how to do it anyway. But it's really a song for him to put on, and relationships, because he was asking me all these things about girls. So I've just got to put it down in song to him.
Find a Way to My Heart.
Find a Way to My Heart was the kind of smokescreen that some people put up between yourself and your mate to be, or mate that you do actually live with. Kind of little barriers that you put up, and I guess it's a protection against being hurt or whatever. So it's that kind of, if you can find a way through that smokescreen, then I'm yours forever, sort of thing. That was the idea.
On a few of the tracks you use guest musicians, your friends. What was that like?
Well, yeah, I use a lot of my usual band, a regular band. We also use 2 or 3 different bass players, Pino Palladino, Nathan East, and Leland Sklar, who are 3 of the best bass players in the world, probably, as far as I'm concerned. But we also, we did use guest players. Clapton, who lives down the road from here, good friend of mine for many years. He played on Face Value, but he played very, very quietly on If Leaving Me Is Easy, and everyone said they couldn't hear him. So, and he complained that I never asked him to play on any other albums, so I asked him to play on this one, and he plays great. He plays on Wish It Would Rain. Dave Crosby, who I tried to get for Face Value, but he was out on his boat a lot of the time at that point. He was probably out of it on his boat, is what he was. He said I wouldn't have liked him then, because he wasn't a very nice person then. But I met him at the Atlantic Records 40th anniversary party, or the gig, and then the party afterwards, and I asked him to sing on the album, and he really wanted to do it, so we stayed in touch, and he came down and sang on, when we were in Los Angeles, he sang on Another Day in Paradise and That's Just the Way It Is, and I was knocked out. What I wanted him to do was come in, like he does with Crosby, Stills and Nash, and just pick out all these strange harmonies, because he picks out all different lines and strange harmonies that people wouldn't otherwise think of. So, and I gave him the tapes of the songs, and he came back into the studio, and he did exactly that. So that was a very successful partnership with those 2 songs. He was great, very, very alert, very funny, not at all a casualty, which is one people could be forgiven for thinking he might be after all he's been through. Winwood, I was doing a gig down the road, a charity gig which we do every year, and Steve was playing keyboards, and we all get together, me, Clapton, Rutherford, Winwood this year, Gary Brooker from Procol Harum, we all get together, learn each other's songs, and Winwood was saying that he never gets asked to do anything, So I rang him up the next day and asked him to play on 3 songs on this album, although only 1 is actually on the album. The others will come out at different times later. But he played Hammond organ, and he was great. I mean, you forget how good an organ, how good an organist he is, and also how good a Hammond organ can sound in these days of synthesizers. It's a real old instrument that, when it's played well, sounds great. And the other person, we had Steve Bishop, who is an old friend of mine, and he's got such a great voice. He rang me up, because he lives in LA, and when I was there, I spoke to him. And I just said, come down, we'll find something for you to do. And he did some backing vocals on Do You Remember? And sounds lovely. So it's good to get when your friends are talented, might as well have them on the album.
How long did the production take?
I think we started here in April, because we had our baby in March, and I had 3 weeks at home, and then we started here. So it must have been about April, and we had July off because my kids come over for the summer. So I guess in all it was about 5 months probably, which was kind of a long time. I do demos at home, and then I bring them in here, and then we copy my demos to multi-track tape, and then I carry on overdubbing on my demos. That's what we've done on the last 3 albums. This album, I didn't do that. I kind of felt that it was conning myself to sort of pretend to do the demos, not thinking that I was actually doing the masters. It surprised me. It crept up behind me and surprised me every other album. This album, I thought, let's start again. Let's do it differently. So I came in here and did all the tracks from scratch myself, and then got these different people to come in at different times. So it was 5 months, but it was great fun. It didn't feel like 5 months.
Would you consider this your best work so far?
I think it's the most important album I've done since Face Value for me. I mean, there are Obviously, there are songs on all the other albums that I like a lot. I think No Jacket was probably stronger than Hello, I Must Be Going. And there are some songs on No Jacket that I really love, like Long Long Way to Go, which is again a song about Northern Ireland. And Take Me Home was another song, a favourite of mine. But I think the new album is definitely the best lyrically I've done.